G'day, I'm Peter from Team Low Range 4x4 and this is my top 5 tips for beginners getting into four-wheel driving. Tip number 1, getting to know your four-wheel drive. Sounds simple enough, but it can be a little bit more difficult than you think. You know, every four-wheel drive is different. Every method of engaging four-wheel drive is different. Some four-wheel drives are fully automatic and they just need the little turn of the dial and it's all done. Others are a multi-stage process of locking hubs and gauging four-wheel drive, possibly coming to a stop to engage low range and all that kind of jazz. And of course, if you've got center differentials, you've got front and rear lockers, there's just so many different processes. So therefore, if you're buying brand new or secondhand, it's a good idea to pull out this, your owner's manual. It has all the information you need to figure out how to work your four-wheel drive system correctly, and you shouldn't have any dramas. So my first tip is definitely check out how to engage four-wheel drive, because it's no good to you to get out on the tracks and try and figure it out there. Tip number 2, if you're a beginner, one of the first pieces of equipment I extremely recommend buying is a tyre deflator. There are many different methods to letting down your tyres, but I believe a dedicated tyre deflator, like these are 2 examples right here from 2 different brands, 2 different prices, but as you can see, they're exactly the same device, just slightly different packaged, and you know, little bits and pieces are different, but the mechanisms are the same. And what this will do over other methods is give you an exact reading of what your PSI is, and therefore you can match all the tyres to roughly around the same PSI, or whatever you need to do or whatever you want to do in regards to pressure. And that way you're not guessing. And I will link in the description below a video to how to use this particular tyre deflator. And it was the very first piece of equipment I ever got for my four-wheel drive, and I use it every single time. All right, tip number 3. Just bear with me for a second. Tip number 3 is recovery gear. Now, if you're going out by yourself, pretty much the best recovery gear I could recommend getting a set of tracks like Max Tracks or Tread or something like that. I would definitely, I'm not sponsored or anything, but I do recommend Max Tracks. They're very durable. And of course, recovery ropes and snatch straps and all that kind of jazz are pretty handy. More handy if you've got a group of mates to go out with, because they can pull you out of trouble. If you're going solo, you know, at the end of the day, well, it's not a bad idea to have recovery gear, because if you encounter somebody and you're stuck, you can use the recovery gear you have, if they don't have any, to get yourself out of trouble. The other thing I would recommend later on, or you can go straight out if you bought a used four-wheel drive, is to grab yourself a winch, especially if you're going solo. Now that's a whole different topic, and how to use it and techniques and stuff like that is a whole different subject. But recovery gear is a great idea if you're beginning, just in case. Tip number 4, where are you going to go for your first time? One of the best places to get your head around four-wheel driving and into the swing of things is your local power line tracks. Now, I don't want to preach to people, but I've found personally this was one of the best places to learn. They usually have a very easy sort of terrain, so you can step up to the next obstacle, step up to the next one, sort of like obviously stairs. Here's one of the more challenging parts of the power line tracks, but if you look around to the other side, it's pretty much two-wheel drive territory. So you can drive along, find a little obstacle you want to challenge yourself on. If you're too cautious, try and find something a little bit easier. But generally speaking, your local power line tracks are the way forward. Tip number 5. All right, we're up to the final tip. Now, it does follow on from tip number 4 in regards to if you're by yourself and you're heading out on the tracks and you've got no one else in the car with you, just take it slow. I know momentum can be your friend, but when you're learning, it can also be your worst enemy. Now, of course, depends on your experience. I'm going from obviously no experience, basically. You've just bought the car, you've got road tyres on it, you've lowered your pressures a little bit and you're just learning how it's going. Well, the best thing you can do is get out, have a look. If you're going to hit a rut or something like that, you can learn where to put your wheels. Take it easy, take it slow. That's the best tip I can basically give you if you're solo. Number 2 on top of that, or dash 2, or what do you want to say, if you can bring somebody with you, an extra pair of eyes is fantastic. That's exactly what I had the first time I went out. I brought my wife and she would help me locate my wheel placement. And then over time, I got to understand how that was working and it really helped out. All right, so that's my top 5 tips on learning how to four-wheel drive if you've never done it before. All right, if you did like this video, please hit the like button and the notification bell and subscribe if you haven't done that already. I'm Peter from Team Low Range 4x4 and I'll catch you on the tracks.